Welcome back to the Mail-In Podcast. First time in a couple weeks. Good to see Sally's face in the studio. Good to see Randy's face behind the ones and twos. Good to be back. We are the Mail-In Podcast. I'm your host, Brett Merriman. To my right, the lovely Sally deFries. Sally, last day of November. You pumped for the holiday season to continue?
I am. I'm having a December to remember tomorrow.
A sales event?
A sales event. Actually, I don't know what the Chevy one is called. Isn't Lexus December to remember?
It's one of them. Shouts to their marketing. I can remember the slogan. I can't remember the brand.
I think it is Lexus.
Was it Toyota or is that Toyota-thon?
I think that's Toyota-thon. Your girl's getting a new car tomorrow.
Whoa.
Well, maybe not tomorrow exactly, but I am making the strides towards getting a new car tomorrow.
Wow. Yeah, family of four. You
gotta get that Tahoe live.
Oh, here we go.
A little gas guzzler.
Let's go.
What's hilarious is I was really trying to get an electric vehicle.
Oh yeah.
And there's just not great electric SUVs out right now.
Not yet. I think we're
getting close.
5 years away from something that's functional and has the range to do what we're looking for.
Yeah.
But we're not there yet.
So I went from one end of the spectrum to the exact opposite, and I'm getting a Tahoe.
Let's ride. What color?
I think the one that I'm looking at is a blue-gray metallic-y.
Oh, okay. Is it the Tahoe Suburban or just Tahoe? Are we stretching it or are we just going Tahoe?
We're not stretching. Okay. Will is pretty worried.
Cab.
I think he thinks that I'm going to wreck this thing because it's very big.
You're going to have to. Hopefully it has auto.
It's got all
signals,
it's got all the safety
bells and whistles, if you will.
Yeah.
What's Fritz is doing car seats still, right? Like that.
Yeah.
But
car seats now. You keep kids in car seats till they're 8.
Yeah, and then because it's car seat or it's
then they're in a booster,
crib, then booster because it's mostly to keep the seatbelt across the
right.
The
but it has more to do not even with age. It has to do with their weight and their height.
Yeah, that makes sense because it's more about how the seatbelt can help.
Right.
Yeah.
So if you have a small kid, they could be in a car seat till they're legit 8 years old or a booster seat. But Fritz is in a car seat. Charlie's in a car seat.
Charlie's the newborns have the whole big ass
He's
thing.
got an infant car seat.
Yeah.
Fritz has a forward facing situation.
I got you. Okay. Before we get into it, I want to say thank you so much for inviting me over for the John family Thanksgiving.
Was it chaotic like you thought?
It was perfect. It's a hard day for me. And it wasn't even chaotic. It was just the amount of buzz and the amount of people were a perfect distraction from a day that's traditionally difficult, or lately difficult, I guess. But I had so much fun. The food was impeccable. Your family is filled with incredible people, incredible chefs. Shouts to the turkey, which was some of the best I've ever had. Your sister Lily and the creamed corn delivered I can't imagine. My expectations were sky high, and they beat them.
Good.
So your sister Natalie made some rolls that were literally the best I've ever had. So it was well done all around. The family, it was a fantastic time, and thank you very much for having me up there.
One thing we haven't even legitimately talked about this till this moment, but I wanted to apologize. I don't think I spoke more than 5 words to you the whole time.
No, it was okay. I for a living I do sales, and I was comfortable with anybody in that room. We chopped it up.
You did a great job of assimilating, but I was unfortunately our youngest was ill, and I was dealing with that. Yeah. We're good now, but it's scary when they're that young. Yeah. So I was very stressed and dealing with that.
I had such a good time actually that I stayed for about 2 hours after you and Will left.
I know. I was like, when's Brett leaving? Yeah. I don't know.
We were just hanging. We were watching football and hanging. So it was a great time.
Okay, good. Well, you're welcome back next year.
Thank you.
All the years.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'll get the recurring invite. So thank you very much.
Yeah.
I didn't have any dessert, I don't think. Oh,
You didn't have any pie?
I didn't have any pie, but you know what I did have?
Sorry.
I had Jules's what's it called?
Ambrosia salad.
Ambrosia.
Yeah.
Because she's like, hey.
Brett, how did you not have any pie? We have legitimately 12 pies.
I know. I didn't have any pie.
I made myself a to-go plate because we were getting to the point where I was like, we have to go home for both kids' sake. It was just getting late. And so instead of having dessert there, I took my dessert to go. And then Will and I just like gorged our faces when we got home and got the kids to bed.
There you go.
It was a delight.
Did you try my mac and cheese?
Yeah, we loved your mac and cheese.
Okay. I'm just wanted to make sure.
It was, people were raving about your mac and cheese. Huge addition. Huge addition.
I'm glad it was.
I did make sweet potatoes. And Randy, I have to say, mine were fine. They were good. But like no like glowing reviews. So I might need to get either Randy's coming next year or I need to get Randy's recipe because they were average. Okay. They weren't a standout. And I want all of my dishes to be standouts, personally.
I didn't try any. I apologize. It's on me. I did a strategic move of going 4 things, and then I tried 4 more things on my second plate, none of which were the sweet potato.
Did you like the scallop potatoes?
Super good. Yeah, good. Those are really good.
See, that was a knockout. My sweet potatoes were pretty meh.
Did you do this? Were those your scallop potatoes?
Oh, yeah.
Was there a situation where they may have been left out of the first run from Austin up to Georgetown?
No, that was the sweet potatoes. Sweet potatoes got left, and Harry had to go get them.
We get it. It's like, oh, crisis mode. We left the sweet potato.
No, I had pre-made all the casserole things, and all I had to do was like assemble the topping on the sweet potatoes. I brought the topping. I did not bring the actual sweet potatoes. They were on our counter.
Got it. Yeah.
But Harry saved the day. We got them.
We made it work.
Yeah, we made it work.
Well, happy Thanksgiving to everybody out there. Hope everybody had a great holiday. Randy, how was yours? You have any highlights from Trimbacki Thanksgiving?
Nope.
All right then.
Are we gonna fight on this podcast too?
Sure.
Oh God.
Nah, it was just a standard old Thanksgiving, you know.
Any highlights of the plate? Good turkey? Did you fry it?
The ham was good because we didn't do turkey.
Okay.
My sister-in-law did like actual green bean casserole instead of like the condensed soup stuff.
Oh yeah.
And be honest, I like the condensed stuff.
I'm gonna
more processed.
I'm gonna back you up on this because I have several times made homemade green bean casserole where you like make your own roux and everything, hand make the crispy shallots, etc. I agree. Like I want the canned green beans and the condensed the cream and mushroom soup. Like it somehow hits harder. It's just like a better consistency.
They know what they're doing.
They know what they're doing. It's the same with like we transitioned to stovetop stuffing just because it was like a funny tradition that we had versus like Grandpa used to do all the fixins with the stuffing and stuff. The stuffing at your Thanksgiving was also phenomenal, by the way. But once you go to stovetop, you're like, oh, I get it. Okay.
Yeah.
It's like Chex Mix versus homemade Chex Mix just never hits the same.
Yeah,
Give me the processed
something about the MSG in there.
Yeah, exactly.
Better.
Before we get going on our questions today, Sally, please subscribe on iTunes to the show. Follow on Spotify. Tell a friend about the show. Hit the hotline number, 888-362-MAIL. That's 888-362-6245. Or write in to the show to ask a question in the link at our Twitter bio at Mailin Podcast or in the description of this episode. One quick follow-up we have from a previous question. Remember our friend who went to Frisco on a golf trip?
Yes. For Thanksgiving.
Solo Thanksgiving.
Okay.
He had a follow-up. Brett and Sally, I'm the guy that took a solo Thanksgiving trip to Frisco, Texas to play golf. I asked about doing Turkey Day solo. This really isn't a question, more of a thank you. I took the trip, crushed the golf, had a steak at a bar-side table for Turkey Day, kept the reservation for 1. The place was also dead. Honestly, might have canceled the whole trip. First solo trip, and I've answered the question of why to every person here. But all in all, I do it again. And y'all pushed me over the edge to keep the trip. Lots to be thankful for, and the entire Washed Media family is part of that. If you ever get up to Fields Ranch East, don't go left, or don't go into the bunker left on 1. Thanks, y'all. Lots to love. Ever upward. Shouts to our dude who took the trip. Super glad you did. Super glad we helped get you there.
Yeah, love
Absolutely. Love that. All right, let's dive in.
I'll go first.
Sweet.
Hey, Brett and Sally, need some advice. I work in healthcare and I am crushing on a sales rep that comes in a few times a week. Each time she comes in, we always talk. Even my coworkers have noticed that she approaches me even though our roles don't really cross paths to do our jobs. I feel like she is interested in me, but for some reason I'm hesitant to ask her out. How should I go about doing that? Love the pod.
Okay, first question from me here as a non-medical professional. What is the standard code of conduct when it comes to dating sales reps that come into the hospital or doctors and sales reps, and like, how does that, what's the unwritten rules there?
I don't think there are really that many.
So it can happen where,
It
and it's
happens.
not super frowned upon that somebody
No.
ends up in a relationship. Okay.
No.
That was question number one. Question
Okay.
number two is, if you're going out of your way to go talk to the sales rep, are you like negating your responsibility? And are people sort of like looking at you funny that way? Are people like frowning upon you doing that? Or like, oh, check out so-and-so is crushing on the medical sales rep?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Without specifics, it's hard to like totally give a ruling on that. But in the OR, we have sales reps all the time.
Mhm.
And rarely are they interacting with me on any part of anesthesia, unless it's like something anesthesia specific, but rarely that's the case. Usually it's some sort of ortho rep, or usually it's a rep for the surgeon. So whatever, like, tool they're using, or for the Da Vinci robot, they did surgery on a grape.
Okay.
We have reps for that. So they are there for the surgeon, but we interact with them just because we're in the same OR.
Sure.
This would be like a great example of that. If I was interacting with like one of the ortho sales reps, like really our jobs don't have anything to do with each other, but we're just like in the same vicinity.
Sure.
I don't think this is an issue at all. It's like no one at least at my work would be like, this is weird. Like that's frowned upon.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
That changes my answer entirely. Because I'm like, now I'm like, go for it.
Because there's no like, I mean, if you're thinking about any other job where like a salesperson is coming in, it's probably very similar to that. Like where no one's going to be like, oh, that's weird. Because they're not in your chain of command. They're in a totally different situation.
It's a different silo, right?
Right.
Like if their sale depended on your marketing dollars or something, then there's a conflict of interest.
If they started like dating the surgeon, it would be different. But like if you're some sort of ancillary staff, or you're like one of the OR nurses, or you're an anesthesiologist, or whatever it is, like they're not, exactly what you're saying. They're not like depending on their sale from you. So I think that's fine.
Okay.
The only thing for me is like, if it doesn't work out and gets awkward, like, are you going to sufficiently be able to avoid each other? You know what I'm saying?
Sure. Yeah,
Which
I get that.
I feel like you have to weigh that risk benefit with any workplace relationship.
Yeah.
Of like, if I'm going to start dating someone at work and this goes south, like, will we be able to be cordial to each other?
Sure, exactly. So I think hearing all of that information,
you're going to say go for it.
I'm in go for it mode. I thought there would be some sort of stigma, like, hey, don't date the sales rep that comes in weekly and sells us stuff, because then there's conflicts of interest, and like, I don't know if it was frowned upon, and now knowing if it's different silos enough that it's kind of like, okay.
Yeah.
So how do you do that? I mean, that's how do you ask anybody out? It's like, do you ask for her number or her Instagram, or hey, do you want to get lunch together, like on a break or something, however that works in the medical world. I don't know.
I think if you know what days she's coming in, get a
little spruced up.
Well, just like get her a coffee or something.
Wear your nice scrubs.
Yeah, wear your nice scrubs, the ones that like, don't have ink stains all over the pockets like mine do. And like bring her a coffee when she's there. Just do a little flirting. Especially if you know what day she's going to be there. But if not, like just ask her to lunch, or I mean, it's hard in healthcare to get lunch, at least in like a hospital setting, because most of the time we're not able to like go.
You want to get this sweet cafeteria.
You want to go to the cafeteria and like, but if you are like in a hospital, if you're going down to get coffee, or you're going down to get something from the cafeteria, you'd be like, hey, do you want anything?
No, there you go.
Just
kind of
toss it out there.
Put some seeds in.
But I would just ask her out like you would ask anybody out.
Yeah. Hey.
Go outside of the work setting. I think that's really important, because you don't want to make it seem like it has anything to do with work. You want to move that out of that realm. Yeah.
And maybe use work as a crutch to get you in the door, but then go out to Applebee's and don't talk about work.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you definitely will talk about work. Like you'll complain about the shit like that, but don't be like, hey, we should talk about your sales like over a dinner. Like, no.
Yeah, your device sucked, man. But like, I'm glad you're still coming over and selling to us.
So another tip I had was, a lot of times these sales reps hold like events, like dinners and stuff.
Oh, really? Okay.
For surgeons and people like that to like learn about their product. So if you can get invited to one of those, then at least you could flirt in and out in a work setting that's outside of the workplace.
Gotcha. Okay.
Like at a True Lux.
One thing, the only at a True Lux. The only other thing I was gonna say is, like, if your team has something similar, like, "Hey, our division is doing an end of the year party," like, I'm sure like we do for advertising, we invite our clients, and
Mhm.
if she's a client, then, "Hey, oh, do you wanna come to our holiday party?" Or whatever it might be. Maybe it's easier with more people around, so it's not as date-feely initially, and then you can kinda branch off from there.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I
Just giving
don't know.
ideas. Just, yeah, treat it like any other ask out.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what you could do? If it goes well, you
Make her dinner
make your dinner
from
with our
Green Chef.
friends over at Green Chef, the #1 meal kit for eating clean. Let Green Chef take the work out of eating clean this holiday season with chef-crafted, nutritionist-approved recipes featuring fresh ingredients with nothing artificial. Choose from recipes featuring lean proteins like turkey and sockeye salmon, barramundi, tilapia, scallops, and shrimp. How about that seafood lineup?
I know.
Certified organic whole fruits, vegetables, and eggs with plenty of whole grain options. Um, you can feel your best this holiday season, Sally, with seasonal recipes featuring certified organic fruits and vegetables, organic cage-free eggs, like we said, sustainably sourced seafood, and they offset 100% of their delivery emissions, as well as 100% of the plastic in every box. They got meals for under 650 calories in the Calorie Smart edition. Protein-packed meals with at least 40 grams of protein on average per serving, science-backed Mediterranean recipes, and flavorful, plant-rich vegan and vegetarian meals featuring certified organic whole fruits and vegetables. How about that? You wanna know what's on their menu right now?
Yeah.
Well, here we go. Weekly menu. We got sizzling harissa steak with mint crema. How about that? Some herbed chicken and bacon penne Alfredo.
Delightful.
Delightful. Spicy coconut curry shrimp soup. Oof. Sign me up. Maybe you finish it off with a Middle Eastern style beef and rice bowl. Can't go wrong.
Yeah.
Their stuff is really good, and they give you, like I always say, the tools to be your own boss. They're not prepackaged. You get the thing like you went to the grocery store. You got to put it together yourself. Become a better chef like I have with Green Chef.
Cheers.
Cheers. Here's the deal, Sally. For Green Chef's best deal of the year, get $250 off. Serious?
Wow.
With code MAIL250 at greenchef.com/mail250. Again, Green Chef's best deal of the year. Get $250 off with code MAIL250 at greenchef.com/mail250. Sally number 2. Here we go. Hey, Brett and Sally. I find myself in what can only be described as the happiest time of my life, beaten down with sadness. I'm getting married in April next year to a man I love. My parents have never seemed on board with this, but have only voiced concerns in hurtful ways, i.e., that I have a lower standard of living because I sleep with my windows open when it's cool outside instead of running AC. Did I mention I work for one of the largest law firms in the country and definitely run the AC when I please? 3 days prior to Thanksgiving, they drop a prenup that I never asked for on me. As a lawyer, I have issues. But here as a daughter, I feel violated, belittled, and frankly, infantilized. Did I say that? Infantilized?
No.
She feels like a child.
Like infantile?
Yes.
Okay.
I don't even know if I want a prenup. How in the heck do I get them to back off when they don't want me to talk to the attorney alone about my concerns? How do I keep my happiness top priority? Regrettably, my parents are also paying for the wedding, and I can't help but feel that I'm a slave to their mercy in this chapter of my life. It sounds like her parents are familiar with the law field as well.
Right. Okay. So the parents want her to sign a prenup with, this is not from the in-laws. This is from her parents.
This is from her direct parents.
Damn.
Who want her to sign a prenup for this wedding because they do not seem to approve of her marriage coming up, whether it's the guy or the marriage itself or the timing or whatever. They have a problem with something, and they are what feels like doing taking steps to cover their ass in the case of it going wrong because they think it will, which is crazy.
Okay.
I mean, maybe crazy is the wrong word, but it's certainly hurtful.
It's definitely hurtful. Okay, but here's where anytime you're planning like a wedding, usually the relationship with your parents can be contentious.
Emotions are running pretty hot.
Yeah. Even if you're on the same page about everything, it's still not an ideal time for most mothers and daughters. Okay. Like, so here's what I think. Number one, I think you need to first ask your parents to like sit down and have a conversation, be like, why do you think that I need to sign a prenup? Like, tell me your exact thoughts on him, on our marriage, etc.
Okay. Get to the bottom and be as honest as
right.
possible.
And as hurtful as that's going to be, it's better to have it out in the open versus like them just making snide remarks or you hear it from like your brother or sister or whatever it is. Like, I would rather get it out in the open and know. You know, I think that I would, if this was Will, I would rather like know where my parents stood than just be wondering all the time.
Yeah,
you know,
like a passive aggressive whatever's going on behind the
not
scenes.
Wondering, but like
feeling.
Almost thinking like versus hearing it from their mouths is almost worse because you're just like,
yeah, totally.
Number two, so I would get that out there.
Mm-hmm.
The thing about the parents is, yes, when they are paying for the wedding, you are beholden to them to invite who they want, do shit that they want. And that was a lot of the reason why Will and I did not have the wedding that we were originally planning. And it's like, I have a great relationship with my parents, but I knew that I didn't want to like my wedding to be an extension of them. I wanted it to be about us. So my parents still ended up paying for a lot of Will and I's wedding, but it was on a way smaller scale that they were a lot more comfortable with. Had we done the bigger thing, it was going to be like fighting tooth and nail about every single thing, which makes sense. It's a lot of money. So when your parents are paying for something, they get a say because it's their money. So if you don't want to be beholden to them, you need to not have a wedding.
Do something different
that they're paying for.
Where does the parental involvement, like with a prenup specifically? So say you want, or like, hey, we're just going to elope and have 10 people at something, and it has nothing to do with the parents. Do you think in that case they still want a prenup?
I'm sure that they still want a prenup because in my mind, they're probably trying to protect their daughter from whatever relationship, like whatever they think this relationship is.
Exactly.
Again, it's not their relationship. So that's my next point is like, you're not, like, unless there's some sort of like family money trust situation that they're trying to protect, you again don't have to sign any sort of prenup with your fiance for their account. You know, like, I mean, they legally can protect themselves in other ways from him getting their money if that's what they're worried about.
Exactly. So in the case that they pass down their wealth, it can go into something
they can say that in a will that like, you know, whatever.
There's other legal tools that don't need to be involved with a prenup.
But like what I'm thinking is that this is more of a show of like, we are not supportive of the marriage.
Oh, totally. Right. Totally. And you're absolutely right. This all comes down to like, we got to get down to the bottom of that. Like, lay all the cards on the table.
Right.
Before we are trying to attack or problem solve this.
Can I say something that might sound kind of harsh?
Sure.
I'm not saying parents are always right. I think that when I married Will, like my parents, it's probably like, not that they didn't picture me marrying someone like Will, but like, I think every parent is probably picturing who their son or daughter is going to marry, and it's not exactly who that person is.
Okay.
Obviously, like Will has a great relationship with my parents, and there was no issues there at all. But I think had my parents had any real reservations about it, that would probably make me pause. I'm really close with my parents. They raised me for 18 years, and I've continued to be close with them in the rest of my other, you know, my full 33 years. If someone's coming to you that you're close to, and this is not purely about money and they don't think he's like gold digging you, you may want to ask and like listen to what they have to say.
Okay.
Because I think it takes a lot. And clearly serving a prenup is like a passive aggressive way to do this.
Yeah.
Instead of sitting you down and like telling you this is what we think. But they're probably trying to protect you from something they're seeing. And it's worth hearing them out and like thinking critically and reflecting and meditating on like what they're saying.
Okay.
In the same way, like vein of like, do you tell your friend who like is with someone who sucks, like that they suck for fear of like them being pissed at you? Or do you wait and then they break up and then you're like, well, now I feel like, why didn't you fucking tell me?
Yeah.
That's always a hard position to be in as the person receiving the news and also as the person who is giving the you know, who's
of course
giving that conversation. But I think if you're close with your parents and they're doing something like this, this is not just a like we're protecting our money. This means something to them. So I would at least reflect on what they're saying. Not saying you have to go with it, but like there is a reason.
Yep.
They're probably not trying to just be spiteful. And I think that's a really hard position to come from. It's really hard to be a parent or a sibling or a friend of someone who's in a relationship that you don't support. And if they tell you the reasons and you think those reasons are either superficial or stupid or what, you know, it doesn't matter. Fine. That's great. But at least give them some thought. I'm not like trying to cause any problems in your relationship, but you're marrying them.
It's worth listening to your parents without like an eye roll or without like an immediate defense of point A, B, C. It's like let's have a civil talk of how to get like, where are we concerned on A, which sounds like money is part of it.
Yeah.
Are we concerned about his like treatment of her parents by him? Like, could that be something? So I think you're certainly right. It's worth digging civilly and like, what are our main concerns? And then one by one, flesh those out. And maybe you bring him in on one when we're like, hey, I don't know, something's going wrong or something's pissed my parents off to the point that they're literally doing this. I want you to know that they have hesitations here.
Yeah.
And try to get his perspective or apology or explanation or something like that. Because the more this just stays kind of simmering, even post-wedding and in all of this, it's never gonna get better.
Right.
Unless there's a come to Jesus kind of talk with it.
And this is obviously a case-by-case basis. If you're not close with your parents and this is like, they're like super rich and you talk to them one time a year and they're handing this down and like, that makes more sense to me. Like, but I also think if you don't confront this now, whether or not you confront it, it's already strained your relationship with your parents. So you are either going to get married and not have signed the prenup or have signed the prenup and resent them for it. To me, it's a no-win situation. You're going to be pissed at them regardless. And it's probably going to strain how you go, your relationship with them moving forward. So for me, I'm the confrontational type of like, let's get this out in the open beforehand, even if it makes things worse before they get better. But I say that only saying if you either let them bully you into a prenup, you're going to resent them. Or if you don't do it, they're going to be pissed at you.
Right. And so the cycle keeps going, right? It's like we need to break whatever passive aggressive cycle we have going on here in favor of communication.
Where do you stand on prenups?
My gut reaction's like I'm never going to ask for one. Or never going to, if say I married somebody who was like, hey, I need you to sign a prenup, I'd feel comfortable signing it because I'd be like, if I'm marrying you, I feel good, confident enough about this relationship that it's going to go for the next 60 years.
Yeah.
So I guess depending on how it was delivered, would make a difference. But I guess I don't have a problem with the idea of them just because I would be the kind of the optimism or optimistic camp that's like, oh, okay, I'm not gonna need it.
So you don't think that's saying something about your relationship, like that it's doomed to fail?
No, I not on the surface. It's one. Say I won the lottery tomorrow and had $1 billion, and like, somebody who's like all of a sudden from 7th grade was like, oh my God, we should go get dinner. I'd be like, Okay, well, there's
I'm gonna make you sign a prenup before we go on a date.
different motivations here. So maybe that's a different story, but
Yeah.
I haven't thought about it from that perspective really.
I used to be very anti prenup. I used to
Okay.
think like that's a horrible way to go into a marriage, thinking about that, like already thinking about the ending.
Sure. Yeah.
I think it's pragmatic though. Like I think
Yeah.
Will and I did not sign a prenup, and probably because there was nothing to put in a prenup.
You get the
like here's my student debt. No, so we didn't. I think I totally agree with you. I think if we were getting married now and I gave him a prenup or vice versa, I think it's important to kind of put your pride aside and just be a little bit pragmatic. It's like
yeah.
not
I mean,
as much, and I'm not trying to be cynical either. Like I love Will. We have 2 kids together. I think that we're spending the rest of our lives together.
Of course.
Like I know that. But I also think that taking it as a full slight to your relationship, I think some people you're either in one camp or the other, and I think some people do take that as like an offense.
Yeah.
I think other people, especially people who are very type A lawyers, things like that, usually tend to be like, this is just the smartest decision. It's like protecting yourself.
Yeah, it's
because you never know. But I think we are actually probably going away from some of the stigma of prenups, like as our generations like kind of grow up a little bit.
It's totally
more
becoming more of a like you said, a pragmatic. Like, hey, there's no emotion attached to this. It's if something, and a lot of the prenups can be very fair too. It's not just like, oh, you get 0, I get 100. Right? It's like, hey, just so we don't have to do this later, God forbid.
Right.
It's basically expediting anything that happens poorly after up front. So it's like, okay, 50-50, yada, yada, yada. You get the dog, I get the car.
Yeah.
Whatever, things you have in there. So I don't know. Maybe our generation's going from our parents' generation of like long, drawn out divorces to just
watching divorces to being like, I can't handle that
paperwork up front, so that if it does end poorly, it's easier, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I am sad for her that she's dealing with this with her parents. I want her to know that you're not alone in the camp of like having tense relationships with your parents, especially in a time of change, where a big time of change for you. Know that most parents, I'm not saying this exists for everyone, but many people's parents are really trying to come from a place of protection of their own offspring.
And it's a natural reaction to sort of be like, F the man, get out of my hair, mom and dad, pissed off. And I like where you're coming from. Like, be receptive, and not that you're accepting everything they're saying.
Right.
But sit down and listen, because that's the first step to them of being like, okay, we're getting through to her, and we can talk about this, versus party A says, I want you to do this, and party B is like, fuck you, no way. And then the conversation's over.
Yeah.
And then it only breeds
and know that the conversation's going to get really heated, and you're probably going to cry, and it's going to be terrible. But try while you're in it to just like stay calm, listen to what they have to say. Even if you do it and then you leave and you're like, fuck that, I'm not.
Right.
I don't believe anything they just said.
But lay all your cards on the table.
Yeah.
Let them lay their cards on the table, and then have a better idea of how to move on to the next step.
Yeah.
Next one.
This one's mostly for Sally, but I'm happy to take all the advice I can get.
I got you.
I have a weak stomach, and my wife is giving birth in 6 weeks. I want to be a rock for her. I know she's anxious about birth, and I honestly think she's more worried about me than she is to go through the physical health, mostly because she's a tough broad and I'm a baby back bitch. How can I be there, read conscious for her when she's bringing kicking, screaming, fluid code life into the world? Am I overthinking this? How did Will support you pre, during, and postpartum?
I don't know if fluid coded was necessary there.
Yeah.
I mean, it is true. I'm sure, but
okay,
painting a picture.
You can be as involved in childbirth as you want to be.
There's the old saying, "Are you above or below the wall?" Right?
Yeah. So here's some like just actual tips I have. Number 1, if you're really squeamish, I would say that up front with your doctor and also any nurses that are taking care of you. Be like, hey, not good with needles. I can't watch this. I really want to be here, but I also don't want to pass out. So like, please warn me. And most people, especially if you give them the heads up, are going to be like, okay, we're not going to like try. Anytime I am in C-sections and the husband's like, I don't want to see anything, I'm not forcing them to stand up. I like totally make it their choice.
Yeah.
So no one's going to force you to do anything. You can still be there next to her head and not have to like see stuff.
Yeah, this is not the medical professional's first rodeo. Here.
Right.
They have
We
experience
are
with
used
this.
to feigning dads all the time.
My dad, when my mom got the epidural, it's a rather long needle, and he passed out.
About 10 centimeters.
And my mom was so mad because she had one nurse on her and he had 4. My dad was a big fella.
Yeah.
Trying to pick him up off the floor.
Yeah.
She's like, wait, I'm the one going through this.
And what's funny, at least you know up front, because we have dads who are like, I'll be fine, and then they pass out. And that's less fun. So yeah, my number one thing, epidural. Most anesthesiologists worth their, who are good, are going to tell you to either get out of the room or to sit in front of her. So when I got my epidural with Fritz, Will was in the room and he just sat in front of me. He like didn't see anything that was going on.
Like you turn on your side, right?
No, you're sitting up.
Okay.
You're sitting up in bed and they literally just sat him on a stool right in front of me. And he just like held my hand.
Got it. Okay. There you go.
We pretty much tell every dad that, like, do not. So we're behind them working and we have the dad in front, so they can't see anything we're doing, really. I mean, you could, if you were really paying attention, you could see us pick up a needle or something like that.
Sure.
But if you're just focusing on your wife's face, whatever.
Yeah.
But if you need to leave the room, leave the room. Like, an epidural is not that big of a deal. She will be fine. She's not going to know, like, she's going to just be happy she's getting relief. It's going to be fine. The nurse will be there. So if you need to be like, hey, I'm going to step out. We send people out all the time.
Okay.
For that reason, because we would much rather them not faint than be in there and then faint. And same thing, like they're having to deal with the dad versus like taking care of the mom.
Yeah.
So
like a special code, like code dad, man down,
no, person down. Yeah. So what they'll do is they'll either sit in front of her and like focus on her face and help her breathe. Both of you can breathe together, or just be like, if you don't mind, I'm going to step out. Then when it comes to childbirth itself, the pushing, things like that, for the most part, it's as involved as you want to be. I also think
give my man the forceps.
Yeah, when it's your child and when you are watching it happen for your own kid, I think it's a lot different than like seeing it on a movie or hearing someone's birth story about it or whatever, because it's your kid. And I'm not saying that you're like watching a baby crown out of her vagina being like, that's my son, like freaking out. But you also, it's just a different experience. It's like, you tolerate it better than you would like seeing, the same way that like you would tolerate like getting a giant cut in your finger than you would seeing a giant cut on someone else's finger. You know what I'm
saying? TMI, like your own wiping your own kid's butt or your own kid throwing up is
on
like,
you versus like another kid throwing up on you.
Yeah, exactly.
So at least that's how I picture it. But also, if she's either in a C-section, you just stay behind the curtain. You don't have
above
to.
The wall.
You don't have to stand up and watch. You don't have to do any of that.
Yeah, I think I'm out on organs.
Yeah. And then if she's having a vaginal birth, you just stay by her head.
Yeah.
And like they're gonna want you to like coach her anyway. So just be like, I don't really want to be down there. Like I'm not part of that. And that's fine. They're not expecting you to like deliver the baby.
Yeah.
One of my I love this story.
Hey, do you want to help with the?
So there are a lot of times they'll let dad, especially if it's like the second kid, like catch.
Oh
so
wow!
They like
That's
get them in a gown and like
a lot
let
of
him,
pressure.
Like, so I tell this story a lot. I'm not going to say the names.
Okay.
But one of my friends was giving birth. The baby is crowning. They're like they'll ask mom sometimes like, do you want a mirror so you can see what's happening?
Oh.
Sometimes that helps. A lot of people will say no, but some people want to see it because they want to like, it helps them like push and things like that.
Okay.
Again, totally person dependent. No one's forcing you to look at anything. But the nurse goes to my friend, the dad, was like, do you want to touch baby's head? So baby's head is like, it's just the hair coming out. And he basically like palms the baby's head. that's crowning out of her vagina. And the nurse goes, wow, no one's ever taken us up on that before. But that's just my friend. Like he I think caught their second baby. Like he was like in it. Like if you ask Drew, like Drew straight up after my nephew Bane was born, my brother-in-law Drew literally was like, I will be at your birth. I'm going to go back and be a nurse so I can like deliver babies. This is my jam. He's like into it. When Lily was getting the epidural, he kept like sneaking his head around the side to like ask the anesthesiologist questions, like how big the needle was and like this and that. So there are people who like love that. And then there are people who are like, don't fucking involve me. And it's okay.
Yeah.
The best advice I have is they are used to squeamish dads. So like if getting the IV is making you sick or any of that, just be like, I'm going to look away for a second. You're not being there for your wife. You're not being a pussy. Like just be upfront. They're used to it. And they'll tell you like, hey, we're about to do this. Do you want to look away or look down at your phone or whatever you need to do? You can still hold their hand and not be looking at what's going on.
Yeah.
Still giving words of affirmation and not be staring at her vagina. It's fine.
Like let's breathe. Boom, boom. And then if you want to do the vagina stuff, hey, go for it, man. But and then postpartum, just like beck and call. If you need something, just not that I have experience, but I would imagine like, hey, you are a servant for a little bit.
Yeah. So postpartum mostly is not even the physical stuff. It's more the emotional stuff.
Sure.
So you're just there to like
cry,
support,
laugh,
offer any support you can. A lot of times, a lot of moms are doing it themselves. Like, especially if she's breastfeeding, there's really not a lot you can do.
Okay.
So just be available to change diapers, wash bottles or pump parts, like do laundry, do all the other stuff that she can't really do because she's focusing on feeding a human.
Herself.
Yeah.
Miracle of life.
Miracle of life.
Let's do the next one, Sal. Hey, guys. I've been in a relationship for about 5 months and things are great. No complaints. He checks all the boxes. We have a lot of fun together and we are aligned on a lot of things you'd hope to be aligned on. I have, though, found myself missing some of the guys I used to date. I don't want a sexual relationship with them, but truly just miss our friendship. Is it inappropriate to see if there's a friendship still there? And if I do, how do I tell my boyfriend about this dynamic? Do I have to disclose that we used to date and hook up? Truly not wanting anything romantic or sexual. I'm just missing having some people in my life. Ooh, Randy had a immediate.
That's a terrible idea.
I don't know if it's a terrible idea.
I think it's a terrible idea.
It really depends on intention here, and there's like how close are you trying to get coffee with people? Are you trying to integrate them into your relationship now as friends? And can your partner be okay with them being friends with you? Like it's certainly a sticky situation, but I don't know if it's totally undoable.
I think this is a terrible idea.
Yeah.
Okay.
If I was dating a girl for 5 months and she started talking to her ex again, I would be like, all right, what's going on here? And if she's like, oh, we're just friends. I'm like, well, that's kind of disrespectful to me too.
Okay. Okay.
I think this is a terrible idea. You're just getting weirdly, I think, cold feet of just being committed to this new guy.
I think that that's a perfect explanation, Randy. The only exception I have for this is if any of these guys exist in your friend group and that has like heated, that has kept you from being in like a group setting. I think that's possible to be around an ex.
If it's a friend group.
Thing. And you're like, you're just being around each other again, but you're not like going out of your way to like have phone conversations with them or like get coffee with them.
Okay.
The thing about an ex, being a friend with an ex is like, unless you already were friends with them beforehand, before this relationship, and you had that friendship and like we were answering the question of like, he's not cool with me being friends with an ex, that's a different story. But being like, I'm going to strike up some friendships with my exes, like that's.
Yeah, also, your exes are going to think you're trying to like get back together.
Yeah, I was going to say,
this is a bad idea.
The only way this works is if this is all in the open. This cannot be like behind.
But I would be offended. I totally agree with Randy. If I was dating someone and they're like, I'm gonna start texting my ex again, like just because I miss our friendship, I'd be like,
yeah, no. When you put it that way, it's like, ugh.
I actually completely agree with your assessment that she's getting cold feet. I think they're getting she's getting a little too deep in. And
By the way,
like,
I think this is a he in this situation.
Oh, sorry.
I think I left out the first part, but I think it's a.
No, it says he checks all the boxes.
It's a.
Male relationship. Okay.
Male.
Okay,
Sorry.
Either way, it doesn't
Either way,
matter.
it doesn't matter.
Relationship.
His exes, I think, like for me, I just would have a problem with this. Like, being the person in the relationship.
I was trying to kind of like, I don't know, but no, I get it.
If next time, be friends with your exes before you start dating somebody.
Yeah,
and then you can present that to him like,
hey, we've been friends. We broke up.
We've been friends.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a bad idea because the person you're currently dating is going to be like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Your exes are going to think you're trying to get back together. And if you're just saying like, oh, it's nothing sexual, it's a slippery slope. That
it certainly was sexual at one point. It's tough to explain that. If you even like, no, like I'd keep anything one-on-one out of it. Yeah. That's tough. Sorry, man.
If you want them back that bad, just break up with your current boyfriend.
There you go.
Go back.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Yeah.
Nip that one in the bud.
That was a quick one.
Sally?
Dear Brett and Sally, my long-term girlfriend dumped me fairly recently. I'm sorry. She's someone I had intended to spend my life with.
Double sorry.
Double sorry that I just laughed. And I really didn't see it coming at all. And honestly, I'm feeling pretty okay with it. Some days more than others, but overall I'm feeling pretty great. Sorry, I lost my line there. And simply moving forward with a new perspective in hindsight, I'm seeing some really not awesome parts about the relationship. Here's the part I'm struggling with. I've of course been talking a lot to close friends and family, and there are a lot of people who never really thought it was a good relationship. One of my very best friends told me that he never thought she treated me well, and that I clearly had to do a lot of gymnastics to accommodate her, and that I was constantly in the problem solver role. A couple other close friends both told me that I seemed to have a more positive demeanor when they saw me without my ex than with me. And even more conversations that are pretty much more of the same. I know that I'm not, but it's pretty hard to not feel like an idiot right now. So this kind of goes back to what I was with the prenup girl.
Sure.
It's really hard for people to tell you who care about you that they don't support someone that you're in a relationship with, especially if it's a long-term, like I'm in love with this person.
Totally. Yeah.
That's really difficult. So then when everyone comes out of the woodworks afterwards.
And it feels like piling on.
And it feels like piling on. You're like, you hated them the whole time. You didn't want to like tell me that. A lot of times people don't want to because they are hoping that you're going to figure it out yourself.
Sure.
And they don't want to interfere in your relationship. And most of the time will not even take the, step of warning you until it gets serious enough that you are going to like marry them or move in with them or whatever it may be.
Right.
I think that is how many of my friends and myself have operated with each other. Because you don't want to be the person meddling in someone else's relationship. Having had someone do this to me, their reasoning was like terrible for the person I was dating at the time. Like the reason that they didn't like him was because of like, I was spending too much time with him versus like, it almost puts I think the reason that people don't do this for their friends is because it puts a wedge between you and your friend. Because then I stopped talking to this friend for a little bit. Right. Because I was pissed at her. So people like your siblings and your parents and your friends probably aren't telling you because I think it's a little easier for a family member to tell you because you're like stuck with them, and your family members like also will tell you if you don't look good in an outfit and you can't like be mad at them. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly.
So it's a little bit easier for a parent or a sibling to be like, hey, she's not my favorite.
Totally.
But again, they probably won't do that until you're getting really serious. But it's harder for a friend because they're like, I don't want to risk my relationship with this person, my friendship, by telling them that I hate their girlfriend.
Totally makes sense.
So I know that he feels like an idiot, but also know that your friends clearly care about you and don't feel like they don't care about you just because they didn't say anything in the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And to I guess defend this guy a little bit, like friends see I don't know, every once in a while, the things they see in the relationship, and they can be bad or harmful or whatever they might be, and they're going to tell you something or wait till after in this case. And there's also good parts too, that you're obviously with somebody for a long time, and like they don't see all the good parts, And so there's a reason you stick around. And
right.
Yeah. So like there's internal conflicts that you have with your partner and yourself. And then there's the external ones that people kind of see differently, or their demeanor or whatever it might be. So I get where this guy is coming from with it. But going forward, you also learn a lot from these things. Like, oh, this person treated me this way. I didn't realize at the time that's how I felt about it, or how people saw that. And now you learn going forward. I mean, you learn in any long-term relationship. So I think it's sort of a net positive for you here.
Yeah.
It sounds like he's moving on with it. But yeah, totally agree that it's I don't know. It makes sense from where your friends are coming from.
Yeah. And yeah, exactly what you said. You're with her for a reason.
Yeah, absolutely.
Even if the relationship got pretty rocky at the end, but you stayed with that person for a reason.
100%.
And not everyone gets to see that.
Mm-hmm. So there you go.
Yeah. I don't feel like an idiot. But honestly, learn from like the points they're making, that if you kind of agree with them, you're like, you know what? I was like catering a lot to her, and like I was just use that to grow for your next relationship.
Learn, grow, and communicate, Sally. Mail in credo.
Yeah.
Last one. Hi, Mail in gang. I'm a 29-year-old single guy and just bought/moved into my first home. That being said, the budget for Christmas gifts is tight this year. What are your recommendations for budget-friendly and thoughtful gifts? For context, I will be shopping for mom, dad, siblings, niece who's 4, and nephew who is 1.
Okay. First of all, I'm gonna just put this out there. You're like being a great son, brother, uncle by getting presents, but you can also always say to like your family, like, hey, bought a new house this year. Y'all cool like not doing gifts? Yeah. That's always an option.
Totally.
I know people don't want to do that, but we've done that with like any of our family, because I mean, on my side, it's a lot of siblings. We're like, hey, we're going to just focus on the kids this year. We're not going to do like sibling gifts.
Yeah.
And then even with Will's family last year, like his sister's like, hey, are we like, can we not like, let's just like get a present for mom and dad and like not do each other, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think if you are comfortable having that conversation, that's always a good place to start. Like most parents are going to be like, do not give me a gift. Like, you know, and same with siblings. For me, I'm always like, if I'm going to spend money, I'd rather it be on the kids. Yeah. Because like they're the ones who are getting the Christmas magic.
Well, because there's that. And because adults buy stuff they want.
For themselves. They have disposable income and they can.
Kids do not. That, therein lies the Christmas equation.
So if you can talk to your siblings and your parents, be like, hey, I'm just going to get niece and nephew something.
Hey, just bought a house. Don't give me anything.
Yeah.
I'm going to get so-and-so who's 4 and so-and-so who's 1 stuff. But you guys cool with skipping out on like us? We'll do a card or bottle of wine exchange, whatever it might be. But yeah.
If that's possible, do that. Yeah. That's my number one. But my next one is, okay, so for niece and nephew, 4 and 1, honestly, again, ask your siblings like, hey, what should I, first of all, it's always nice to ask somebody with kids, what should I get the kids?
Yeah.
Because like in our case, our kids have a bunch of shit that like I don't even want myself right now. Like I don't want it in our house. I don't want more stuff on top of that. So they might tell you like, please don't get this. Or they may say like, hey, she really wants this Barbie. So then you like know straight away. A 1-year-old, like get them like a little like tricycle or something on Amazon. Like Fritz, somebody gave Fritz like a little tricycle he can like ride around by like walking without pedals, you know? It was like $30. Easy.
Knee hockey. Best gift for a little kid.
Yeah. Someone gave Fritz for his first birthday a bubble lawnmower.
Oh, yeah.
Like any bubble machine. Cheap, easy. Kids fucking love it.
Yeah, toys are cheap. Kids love toys. I wouldn't go like clothes or whatever.
You don't need to get the 4-year-old needs a Barbie dream house.
Yeah.
Get her like one Barbie. Or, one. I don't even know what 4-year-old girls like at this point.
I brought Randy in his mic up on this because he's gift giver extraordinaire.
Yeah.
But he makes gifts, correct?
Yes.
Yes. And first of all, let me be the first to say congratulations on your new home.
Yeah.
Wow.
Congrats. We didn't even do it. I'm sorry.
Well, that's why I was the first. Yeah. I mean, I think you guys have pretty much killed this one already. Like talk to your parents and your siblings. I don't think anyone's really expecting. You're single and you're 29. They're not expecting much from you. One gift per person at max. That's what it is.
How are your gifts coming along this year?
Don't ask.
Oh, okay.
I'm still working on that painting for my niece, and it might turn into her birthday gift instead of Christmas gift. We'll see how that goes.
One thing I'll say that's thoughtful and budget friendly for mom, dad, and siblings. Rachel actually got one of these for me. It's a Pyrex with my dad's mac and cheese recipe engraved on the glass.
Oh, I love that.
You can do it for like pie sheets. So if you have something that like
a family recipe,
or something that your mom made or your dad made, or something that's just meaningful and something that they're going to use a bunch that they don't necessarily know they want. I've since turned around and done that for somebody else. I'm getting a gift, so it's like that's a really good, thoughtful one that I really appreciate it.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, that's cool.
I was also going to say, like, no self-respecting adult's going to be pissed if you don't give them a gift.
Right. Yeah.
Personally, like in the same vein of like people over the age of like 21 who expect you to remember their birthday, like unless they're your significant other, like come on.
My sister and I, we always get something like now is a little bit different, but we used to just Venmo each other like $50 back and forth.
Yeah,
when my parents were still alive. Just like, all right, got it.
You're like, I got it now. I'm gonna send it back to you.
Pam, give me your whole list, like boom, down the list. But
we normally, in the past few years, have either done Secret Santa with my siblings. So like each of us gets one person, because like giving a gift to all like siblings and significant others, it's just like not going to happen. I'm not going to give every single person in my family.
You guys got you add by the year,
right? Seems. So I think we might be doing that again this year, and then we usually all pull together and buy my parents a gift together.
Yeah, that's cool.
Which is another option. Like you can say to the siblings, like, "Hey, you want to like get mom this, this set of wine glasses she wants together."
Or do or do it like a sibling dinner or something where you guys chip in and like, hey, White Elephant would be fun too if you want to do it like more of a funny way to get everybody involved in gift giving.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of ways around it. But like you said, to lead it off, you can talk with them and be like, hey, I bought a house. Do you guys mind if we just get bottles of wine for each other this year or something? Just something, So
like a nice throw blanket's always a great one for parents.
There you go. Something that people just use every day that they're like, like I need towels desperately this
Honestly,
year.
like
can't wait to get towels for my sister.
Like a picture of you. Like moms fucking love that.
Yeah. An aura frame, perhaps, non-spawn that goes through the digital one.
It's not spawn on this podcast.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Yeah, that'll do it for us today, Sally. Any shower thoughts before we bounce?
No, I have a lot on my plate. So I'm gonna go. We're about to go take Christmas card photos.
Oh, let's go.
Yeah.
How's that gonna go?
Well, we already took our Christmas card photos for our Christmas card. We're taking Christmas card photos for my parents' Christmas card.
Oh,
the 40th one.
There we go. 40th Christmas. That's big.
Your 40th. So.
That's right. Oh, get it. You can always do ornaments too. Ornaments that mean something.
Ornaments are great.
Moms
Christmas
and
gift.
dads eat those up.
Oh, did Will tell you that our tree fell over?
No. Was it the fault of your other son, or your dog?
My dog.
Oh, yeah.
Our tree, which honestly, I'm saying this and I haven't done it yet, but if you have small children, you should probably tether your tree to the wall. You can just do it with fishing line. Yeah. I've actually seen that, and people being like, you need to do this. And I didn't. And I'm very, very glad that neither of my sons were nearby when it happened. But basically, Rosie's bed was near the tree, and Will ordered her to go get on her place, and she ran. He had like a treat, and she ran, and the bed slid, ran into the tree falls over. All of our ornaments are like glass hand blown, like,
mass chaos.
Only like 10 of them broke, shockingly.
Okay.
Nothing that can't be replaced.
Okay.
Nothing irreplaceable, but some nice Christopher Radko ones I was pretty bummed about. But
that's tough.
I mean, I literally looked at it and I was like, our whole tree's gone. That was hundreds of dollars. And then we picked up the tree, and a lot of it had actually not broken.
So we ended up being okay.
We ended up being okay, but then Fritz got like really upset.
I just picture the scene. Just like it's like,
well, and he like wants to come help, and there's shattered glass everywhere.
Yeah.
And like Rosie's sprinting. It was a nightmare for about 20 minutes. We're good now, though.
There you go. We are the Mail-In Podcast. Please subscribe, rate 5 stars, review, and tell a friend about the show. Hit the hotline number 888-362-6245. That's 888-362-MAIL. Or you can write in at the link in the Twitter bio at Mail In Podcast. Where can the people find you, Sal?
Tally deFries on Instagram and Twitter.
I'm Brett Merriman at Schmerriman on both those platforms. And we will not see y'all next week.
Not next week.
I'll be in LA.
LA?
Hanging out with the Cali dude. Oh, can't wait, dude. It's going to be sick.
Will and I are going to be in the Great Smoky Mountains.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Tennessee whiskey. Let's ride.
Yeah.
So we'll see you guys in 2 weeks.
2 weeks. Bye.